Alright guys, so you can already see it on the screen here, and I'll try to tell you no cheating, but I'm sure you're already looking and already a step ahead of me with this. But um, back when I first got a guitar, I was probably 12 or 13. I really wish, within the 5 years that had passed, somebody had told me. Of course, I was a young teenager and had busy working parents that were not music experts, and guitar teachers aren't always looking out for your best interest or able to kind of play therapist to you to see um, where your really shortcomings are. They kind of just at times want you to learn the songs and just practice and stay on the straight and narrow. But had someone come to me and told me what I'm about to tell you, it really would have changed my life. And it seems so stupid now, but I just wanted to throw this out there to give you everything that I've got, guys, because I want you to get the most value. And that's this. I would take power chords on a guitar, which, for those of you who don't know, the quick version of it is just they are very, very, very simple 2 note, sometimes 3 note, but usually just 2 note chords, mostly used in rock and punk. Very simplistic chords, easy way to combine chords, and it's easy for beginners. It's easy if you're a performer as well, if you're jumping around a lot. Um, Power chords are the easiest to make without kind of sounding bad on stage. So that being said, had someone come up to me and said, Mikey, you do realize that decades and decades and decades before you ever held a guitar, people have figured out chord combinations that work very well together. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Um, it would have changed my life had they told me that and then maybe just showed me um, what they meant by that. And what I mean by this is that instead of tinkering around on the piano or inside of your DAW or even on a guitar and basically shooting darts in a dark room and hoping for a bullseye, look up the combos. So don't just jump around on your instrument hoping to stumble upon a nice combination of chords that is pleasing to the ear and sound good together. Now, you don't have to go as far as to become a music theory expert, but just understand that probably thousands, and if not thousands, definitely hundreds of songs come out every single day. Probably millions upon millions, maybe even billions of songs have been written. Okay? You are not going to stumble across anything that hasn't already been done. So instead of waiting for dumb luck, coincidence, or that rush of dopamine when you just, for me, were on a guitar at 13 or 14 and happened to somehow, finally, by the end of the night, place your fingers in the right order so that it sounded pleasing, which no one told me this, but had they told me, only to find out that like 800 other pop or rock or punk songs had been written with that chord combo as well. I just didn't realize it. It would have been very helpful. So that's why you see up on the screen right here, top EDM chord progressions. Now understand it doesn't have to be EDM. You could replace EDM with pop, country, dance, punk, jazz, anything. Any genre of music has kind of roles or chord combinations that work so well. And we've all heard it, and this is why songs sound similar to each other. This is why when you hear a song you think, I know I've heard this before, but I can't quite put my finger on it. It's usually because of the chord combination that's used, or parts of the melody that jog our memory. There was a song by Kalani and some rapper, and it used kind of like a gospel sounding chord combo. And let me try to pull it up here. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get targeted for copyright. But yeah, Kyle. And the song's called Playing With Me. If you just look that up, the chord combo in the beginning of that sounds so familiar to me. It sounds like something I've heard on commercials, like happy-go-lucky commercials from the 90s, whether it be about cars or cleaning products. I swear I've heard that chord combo in more gospel-y kind of music. And when I heard it then, it made me feel very happy. I love that tune. It didn't get the recognition that it deserved, in my opinion. And it's a good example, though, of what I'm talking about. Also, if you look at a lot of Green Day and a lot of Blink-182, they use a very, very, not all the time, but a lot of their songs share a certain style of chord movement and chord progression that, put frankly, is just commonly used in punk, pop punk, and rock and roll music. So don't tinker hoping to come across the right chord combinations and work yourself into a frustrated hole of anger and defeat and creative shutdown because you just can't find the right chord combos. They've all been written, it's already been done, and I don't mean to suck the creativity out of it. Some people may think of this that way, but actually what I'm trying to do is quite the opposite, is show you that you don't need to get down on yourself because you didn't reinvent the wheel today. There is no reinventing the wheel. Find a great chord combo that fits the mood that you're looking for. In my case, it's usually happy, poppy, simple. And I do often look to pop punk in my house music and future bass sounds, and go from there. You know, you could do top 100 happy chord progressions and a million different websites and YouTube tutorials, and graphs and charts and images are going to come up. And it's just because this stuff was around much longer than you or I have been, and there's just no reinventing the wheel. It's not necessary. You can look up things like this right here, guys. D minor, G minor, B flat, A. And there's probably been 800 songs written, if not in the key of D minor, assuming that is a D minor key, that D minor is the one chord, that combo in any key. So, and that's why there's Roman numerals, like you saw in the previous search, for chords. This one is the 1, 4, 5, 6 chord combo. Now understand that that doesn't matter if it's in the key of A, and A is the one chord, or if it's in the key of F sharp, or whatever, G flat, whatever, E flat, C, whatever. The 1 is the root note, and then there's the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and then the 6 chord, or the root chord, I guess you could say. So just understand that, guys, and just save yourself a little bit of heartache there by just pretty much Googling it. I hate to make it that simple and in some ways that ridiculous, but that would have saved me years of time in my teenage years if I would have just understood that, and at that time either looked it up on the early days of the internet, or just instead of buying instructional books on how to play guitar, there were books right next to those books at Guitar Center that were basically chorded out, or sheet music written out for various popular songs. So I was looking at how to play guitar, for beginners 1, how to play guitar for beginners 2, how to play guitar for beginners 3. Instead of doing that, which that was helpful, I was missing kind of the bridge and the link of, okay, you're learning how to play guitar, but if you just look over here, you can literally take the top, whatever it was, let's just say popular songs in rock and roll music from 2003, and learn those, and then realize that you don't want to reuse the lyrics, but you could literally reuse the chords in the same key if you wanted to, but if you wanted to be cheeky, you could change the key, and you basically have the same style and the same sound. And although that seems a little bit shady, that band probably did it as well whether they want to admit it or not, because no one's really thought of a new chord progression, especially in simple popular music like basic rock, pop, hip hop, country, EDM, uh, for a very, 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 very long time. So I understand how this video might come off as a little bit cynical, but I just hope you can really understand what I'm saying between learning things and then looking towards popular music and understanding that every single song is a shell with certain things that cannot be copyrighted that are completely up for grabs. So don't try to reinvent the wheel with chord combos. Go out, learn your craft, but also pay attention to other things like what other people are doing and putting out. Like I talked about those songbooks, because had I bought those or at least looked at them, I could have realized, a dozen or so different combos of chords that popular bands of that time like Blink 182, or Green Day were using that I could have used too. In some ways, I stumbled upon them and did using them, but I would have saved myself a ton of time of stumbling and fumbling. Don't stumble upon it. Look at it and realize that's a great chord combo. Blink 182 weren't the only people that used it. Aerosmith did too, and so did Tom Petty, and a ton of other people. So no one's really the originator of these things. It's just good to cut back on wasting time with them. Hope that helps you guys. I'll see you in the next video.